The first thing the woman did after being reborn was sell the rundown house her husband left her for a roasted chicken. She used the chicken to save her two starving children from the brink of death. Then she took the children to the military camp to demand a divorce from her husband. In her previous life, the husband had been worried that his late elder brother's widow would be bullied in the village, so he forced the woman to give up the only army slot to the sister-in-law. That day he had the carriage come to take the sister-in-law's family away while the woman and her two children were left behind in the countryside. For 3 years he sent a monthly letter claiming he cared while he sent all the money to the sister-in-law. He also forbade the woman from coming to the camp by saying the court managed things strictly. To support the children, she worked herself to the bone hawking goods in the market. 2 years later a plague hit and she had no money for medicine, so both children died from infection. When the husband finally returned, he handed her a divorce document blaming her for failing to protect the children and saying she did not deserve to be his wife. He walked away holding the sister-in-law without even glancing at the children on the ground. The woman died of grief and rage and then woke up transported back to the day the plague broke out 2 years earlier. Seeing her pale hungry children, she sold the ancestral home to buy a roasted chicken and saved them from starvation. After the children were fed, she immediately took them to the camp to get a divorce. Only when she reached the camp did she learn that the garrison was less than a dozen miles from her home and that her husband had not visited the children once in 3 years. When she tried to enter, she was stopped and was told that the husband had been promoted to a chinhu and had been granted a handsome 3 courtyards compound which he preferred to leave empty rather than bring his wife and children to enjoy. When the guards learned she was kin to a chinhu, they escorted her to meet the chinhu's wife. To her shock, the chinhu's wife turned out to be the sister-in-law she had not seen for 3 years. When the husband heard the commotion, he appeared and nervously grabbed the woman, asking why she had arrived uninvited. The woman asked him why he had just addressed the sister-in-law as madam. The sister-in-law tried to laugh it off, saying the campmen were rough and liked to joke around. At that moment a 10-year-old child ran up calling the man father and asking him to play with him. The woman recognized the child as the sister-in-law's daughter and realized the husband's guilt was obvious. He said he had presented himself as the child's father to avoid the shame of the child being fatherless. The sister-in-law hurried to invite the woman to eat to ease the awkwardness. Seeing the feast, the woman felt a stab of bitterness because the children she raised in the countryside had only known scraps. While her children devoured the food, a sneer came from across the table deriding them as country bumpkins. The woman slammed the table and scolded the child for speaking crudely at such a young age. Although the sister-in-law could not understand what the son had said, she sensed from the woman's expression that it was rude and demanded an apology. The husband then roughly dragged the woman outside, accusing her of making a scene. He said the household had been unsettled since she came to the camp and ordered her to take the children back to the old home after the meal. The woman replied bluntly that she could not afford to raise the 2 children anymore. The husband insisted that he had always provided for them and that she had exaggerated. He claimed he sent food and new clothes regularly and even half of his salary each month. When he realized the truth, he hurried to ask the sister-in-law about the money. As the woman suspected, the husband did not reprimand the sister-in-law but instead pulled her into his arms, showing affection. He then impatiently told the woman that the sister-in-law had been busy looking after the household and must have forgotten to send supplies. The woman scoffed that forgetting for 3 years was impossible, and the husband, sensing his guilt, hugged her and promised to send money on time if she returned home quietly. The woman agreed without hesitation because she planned to take the money and immediately file for